What's up, Mountaineer Nation? It's your boy Bernie Mac here for our Monday show, Voice of Morgantown Live. Coming off a great weekend for Mountaineer sports, finally back in the victory column for WVU football after a long winless drought. WVU went into Houston, shocked college football by upsetting a very good 7-1 Houston team, and they did it with authority. And they did it following Rich Rod's playbook, and they did it playing as a team with everybody chipping in on all phases of the ball. I think we talked about that a little bit in the post-game show, but that was the thing that was really impressive to me in that win, right? Like, if you look at the offense, I felt like the offense in general played very efficient. Scotty didn't make many mistakes. The offensive line got off the ball a lot quicker. They were moving people around. I think Rich Rod, kind of said it in his post game, where the best feeling in football is when the opposing team knows you're going to run the ball and you're still able to get a first down. That's a real credit again, to the offensive line, their improvement, and just seeing the evolution. But I think it was the whole team in general, right? I mean, to have, I believe it was 4 turnovers, 3 defensively, 1, I guess you call special teams, and the offense playing as well as efficient as they did, running game, pumping out yardage. Great to see Dior Hubbard play through an injury, show heart, ran hard. Great to see Bowers come in, show some explosiveness. Good to see Gallagher. Good to see Vaughn. Just our core receiving players, I thought did a really good job. And I definitely want to give a shout out to Jeff Weimer. He has kind of flown under the radar this year, but has really shown up in a lot of games, and has really had an impact on the offense the last few games. And again, I mean, he's a redshirt senior, but not somebody that we were talking about on the podcast, on the show. And here's a guy that comes out and essentially leads the team in receiving last week with 67 yards, 22.3 average, 3 receptions. He had Rodney Gallagher, 5 receptions, 53 yards. Cam Vaughn, 1 reception, 24 yards. But obviously he had an impact with a couple of the PI calls, a couple that I felt like should have been called but weren't. But overall, I thought it was a really fantastic game. When you look at the overall stats of the game, West Virginia ran for a total of 246 yards. Houston ran for 82. Again, this is on a top 5 ranked defense in the NCAA. We go out and we ball out. We put up 403 yards of total offense. I know Scotty Fox only had 157 passing yards, but for those of us that remember seeing Pat White play, Pat White wasn't throwing for 300 yards a game. It was his efficiency to be a complete player and get the ball in the end zone, whether it's through the air or on the ground, that led to a lot of the success at his time at West Virginia, during his time at West Virginia. So to see a guy like Scotty Fox as a freshman be as poised as he was, just go out there, compete, play his tail off, I thought it was great. Same thing for the offense, same thing for defense. Special teams was great. Coaching, I said it on the show, on the post-game show, I thought coaching was A+. That first quarter that Rich Rod put together was as good of a mix-up offensively, keeping them on their heels, and the play calling in general, it was fantastic. You saw mid-routes, you saw screens, you saw draws, you saw deep shots to Cam Vaughn, which is something we've been telling about all year. So, all around, I really did feel like it was a very complete, very, very complete game, and a game that I think, some of us may have expected after a very strong showing, against TCU. But again, thinking of the evolution of the program, I think that's what we want to focus on today, right? There's been a lot of talk about why Rich Rod can't win as quickly as Cignetti at Indiana. He's building whatever he's building here. Cignetti's building what he's building at Indiana. And I think a lot of it is Rich Rod's, he's trying to avoid like the portal nonsense, right? So he wants to recruit very good high school players. He wants to ingrain the culture, and the culture has always been a top priority. He said it. But again, I think he's looking to build the program old school, and that's okay. It's just going to take time. But if you recall, when Brad and I talked about this at the beginning of the season, if you look at the Jacksonville State team that Rich Rod won the conference with last year, they started out slow and then they finished really strong. I think it just takes people that are coming in, especially teams that have a lot of new players, time to adjust to get in the flow of the program and understand what the coaches ask and adjusting to their expectations to be successful. And I've said a little bit about the quarterback carousel. I wasn't in agreement with it. I felt like you either just go with Fox and Wilkins, you make a decision, you stick with it and give them an opportunity, good or bad. So it was good to kind of see him sticking with Fox no matter what. And I think Fox is going to be the guy the rest of the year. Obviously, he's shown no reason not to be. I think he's only going to get better. So we have a real shot right now, and I know Brad posted about it, to make a bowl game, which would be a tremendous accomplishment. I mean, I'm not really sweating Colorado. It seems like they're kind of in shambles this year. I think, any team in the Big 12 could be competitive, but I think having them at home, we have a real shot to win that game. Then you look at ASU, who just lost their starting quarterback. They're kind of struggling a little bit and wobbling. Again, I mean, we're playing them away, but it's a good opportunity to just keep the program moving in the right direction. Hopefully we have some guys healthy at that time that could step back in and help give a boost to the program. And how great would it be if we're sitting at, 5 and 6, and then we have to play number 11 or number 8 or number 6 or number 15 Texas Tech to get into a bowl game at home for the last game of the season. I think that would be pretty electric. Even if we get to 5 and 6 and we miss out on the bowl game, that's not the worst thing. I think a lot of us wrote this team off over the last month because we just did not see any level of improvement. But I think a lot of it has to do with what I just said, right? Like, that quarterback carousel was disastrous. Anybody that's played quarterback will tell you, you have no opportunity to get in a flow. You have no opportunity to get in a rhythm. There's no confidence, but you feel like there's no confidence coming from the coaching staff. And I think once we rectified that, it's been better. We've seen them taking shots to Cam Vaughn over the last couple of weeks, which is something I've been complaining about for the last month and a half. And the play calling's been better. So I think, credit to Rich Rod, his staff. They've done a lot of really good things to kind of change the direction of the season. And now we feel like we have some momentum. We had a close loss to CCU. We go upset Houston on the road. And let's focus for a minute, too, on how big of a win this was for the program and why it is so, kind of profound when you look at this, right? And you think of where we were, what we've done over the last few years. And I will just share my screen quickly here because I think this is pretty cool. So when you look at this, and I put this up on my feed the other day, it's a build on progress, right? And this is Rich Rod doing it the way he wants to do it, the way he's creating the culture, demanding accountability from his players. But it's our first true top 25 win since 2018. Houston is not going to finish with a losing record. It's impossible just numerically, right? So you have a team that's now 7-2, where some of the teams I think we beat like on the edge top 25 teams early in the season in the past, and they wound up finishing like 4 and 8, 4 and 7, whatever it was, right? So this is our first true top 25 win since 2018. So Neil Brown never had that. Holgorsen, we've seen flashes of greatness, right? That's huge. I mean, year one, we were able to see this progress and development. 7 years since we've had that. Most points scored on a P4 opponent since 2018. Again, Neil Brown, right? I hate to beat a dead horse here, but I've said it before. He was the worst, if not one of the worst, head coaches in our program history. And you look back at all these, right? None of these metrics happened in Neil Brown era, but it was most points scored on a P4 opponent since 2018. First time +4 in turnover margin since 2014. Again, Zach Alley is shown to be brilliant. I know he's had some bumpy games. They haven't played up to their potential, but I think that guy's going to get the right players in the right places for next year, and they're going to be really dangerous. And first win against a ranked opponent on the road since 2018. So again, when you look at these metrics and you look at what we're going through as a program, for anybody that's wondering if like Rich Rod is building this the correct way, I think those statistics that I just put up right there show you that he is. And the biggest complaint I always had with like the Neil Brown era is no matter what, you would never see like massive jumps in improvement, right? For all of us that have watched the Holgerson years, Bill Stewart years, Rich Rod prior, you saw adjustment, improvement, and just continuation. And we haven't seen that at all from Neil Brown's teams over the years. It would like they might pull one game out of their rear end and you'd feel a little good, and then they'd go and blow out, get blown out by a team they should have beat the following week. So for me, when we saw Scotty Fox go under center, where we saw Dior Hubbard, we see Jamori Robinson adjusting to the speed of this game and getting conditioned to where he's now a factor. You look at what Perry is doing. You look at Coates. Like all these things are coming together at a really good time where we're becoming a dangerous team. I truly do wish it would have happened a little earlier. I wish Rich Rod would have, just stuck with Fox. Maybe we could have pulled a game or two out of our hat. We've had some really bad calls go against us. I know a lot of the Big 12 has, but us specifically, I could think of 2 games where calls changed the outcome of the game, and maybe we would be sitting, at 5-3, which is crazy. But the refs, again, we've said that too. There needs to be some accountability on these refs, whether they're getting suspended for games or whatever it might be. But the biggest thing that I want everybody to take away, and I've been Rich Rod's harshest critic prior to last week. I thought he called a good game last week. The weeks before that, I couldn't figure out what he was doing, why he was making the decisions he was making. And he seems to kind of auto-corrected. And the team that we saw at Houston this past week is the team I think we all thought we were going to see throughout the season, which is why we had high expectations. And again, a couple of bad calls went up against us, and we would maybe be 5-3 if that hadn't occurred. But you can't put yourself in a position where those kind of calls could dictate the outcome of the game anyway, right? You don't want to have it that close. So I think right now, the biggest takeaway that I took away from this weekend was that Rich Rod is building this team the way that Rich Rod wants to build the team. It might not be as quick as us as Mountaineer Nation fans want to see that change. It might not be Signetti switch, but I think he's building it for the long term in a better way. So I would just encourage everybody to be patient. We've seen this tremendous influx of improvement over the last couple of weeks. The stats that I just put up there, that in itself shows you the level of improvement. And it was similar to basketball, right? When we saw DeVries come in, take over after the Huggins debacle, and just some of the things that we saw, beating Kansas, all this stuff. When you have good coaching, you can correct a lot of the factors that dictate outcomes of games. And while it may have been a gap over the last several weeks, it seems that they've gotten it on the right track now with the right people that believe in the program and the direction that the program is going, with a lot of really good talent coming in. We have a shot at the 4-star Penn State recruit. We've got a lot of people in the pipeline. They've got a lot of high school talent coming in. We've got some help coming in on the O-line, and we're going to free up some money now, hopefully on the NIL side, because we're not going to need to go get a seasoned quarterback. I think Scotty and Khalil have both shown the capability, to run the offense next season. So with that being said, I think everybody that's been rightfully so giving Rich Rod and this team a hard time, I think we could kind of stop that pressure now. It seems to me that this team is back on the right track. We've seen the level of improvement that we wanted to see. And I think we're going to continue to see that as the season moves forward. So with that being said, I just want to remind everybody too to please follow me on X. You see my handle down there, Bernie_Mac_VOM. I love interacting with the fans. It's been great this season, getting to do that. And then I would also tell you to make sure that you hit that like button and make sure that you follow us on YouTube at the Voice of Morgantown Media Network. Please be sure to do that, totally free, but you'll be able to get in on a lot of the giveaways and the things that we do as a media network, from a Mountaineer fan standpoint. So with that being said, I'm really excited about the game this week. I think we've got a real shot, like I said. So we'll see what we could do against a Colorado team that's kind of limping through the season. We've got basketball starting tomorrow. Really excited. I know we're all very excited about what Ross Hodge is going to put out on the court. So we'll have a lot more to talk about as the season progresses for all of Mountaineer athletics. But in the interim, continue to support this team, continue to tune in. Kudos to Rich Rod staff players on a fantastic win, a very tough Houston team. Looking forward to continuing to get this program back on track and that momentum that we have toward the end of the season, how important that is with recruiting, and just feeling like you're ending the season on the right note. I feel like we're there and we're trending in the right direction finally after a very rough middle part of the season. So with that being said, let's go Mountaineers, and I will see you next week.
Voice of Morgantown, we break it first. WVU pride, we quench your thirst. No spin, all truth, loud and proud. Mountaineer nation, say it loud. The Voice of Morgantown. VOM, Mountaineer pride, we go all in. First to the facts, last to the spin. It's the Voice of Morgantown.